Hey there folks, and welcome to this video, and here we're going to be talking about the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and really, was it well done, Baku? Like, in terms of its history, the Baku Street Circuit has thrown up interesting and more interesting races. It's one of those ones where the winning gap, I believe, went down year on year. I knew that wasn't likely to happen this year, largely because last year's was made by a two-lap shootout and Lewis Hamilton accidentally deploying the brake magic. But this year, there were some interesting bits, mostly to do with Ferrari implosion. The four non-classified drivers all being Ferrari-powered, and with the exception of Carlos Sainz, the other three of Charles Leclerc, Zhou Guanyu, and Kevin Magnussen were all power unit related. Carlos Sainz, actually no, I believe was power unit related, but he thought it was to do with the brakes. I think I heard somebody saying somewhere that all three of the Dance signs were turbo failures, though. Stroll, of course, classified when he later retired the car, but we'll talk about that at another point. It was interesting, though, that both Astons managed to drive flat into a wall, albeit a Tech Pro wall, and not damage the front wing. And then, of course, Stroll crashed in Q1, brought out the red flag, and ran over his wing and broke it. But we can't really focus on the stuff at the front. Max Verstappen made one overtake all race, and it was through team orders, which is a shame because, well, he was arguably the guy who should have been in the best position to win it, and probably would have had a pace advantage over Checo if they were allowed to battle. But Red Bull did a really sneaky and, I would say, quite disappointing way of bringing in team orders, because I would argue Checo's been the better driver this season. But what they did was they had Checo be passed by Max, saying no fighting, and then Max went through, and then they bottled both of Checo's pit stops. Now, was it intentional or not? I don't know, but they kept him up on the jacks for quite a while. And in the end, Max won by 21 seconds from his teammate in a Red Bull 1-2. What's surprising, though, is because of the Ferrari retirement, it was a Mercedes 3-4, yet another podium finish for George Russell. And, well, he's been showing more and more that he has deserved this Mercedes seat for quite a while. Lewis Hamilton, meanwhile, we've got the big story over porpoising. He was saying that his seat felt cold, which meant that he lost sensation in, well, the bit that he sits on. And if you saw the videos from after the race, he was struggling to get out that Mercedes W13. And it's not just him that's having issues with porpoising. He's having the most issues. But then remember after Saudi Arabia last year, where he felt he was still suffering the long-term effects of having had COVID, which made him miss the Kia Grand Prix in 2020. Like, that was a year on, and he was still feeling those after effects. After Saudi last year, remember, he hid behind like that display for a solid couple of minutes just to recuperate. But yeah, Baku seemed to take out the most on him, and the most on his back. That 2 kilometre long flat out stretch of a street circuit, lots and lots of bouncing. There are rumours that he might not even make it to Canada next weekend because he might be recovering from it, and that would be horrible to hear happen. It just makes me think this is an issue that's not just Mercedes. Look at Sainz's onboards, for example, when he was running this weekend. There was lots of porpoising. I think this was something where F1 didn't really think about this kind of problem. The teams didn't. I don't think the sport did. And now that it's here, they're just like, well, I guess teams have to work around it. But what's going to happen is, I know some people talk about concussions. That could be possible. I think things like helmet technology, and in particular the hand supplies, will reduce the amount of that. But back pains, especially for people such as Lewis, naturally being one of the older drivers on the grid. But I don't know, maybe some of the taller drivers who might be squeezing into their cars a bit more. So George, potentially, maybe someone like Ocon. It really depends on how the car is built for them, how the car is designed for them, as to how they feel the porpoising. But it is a concern. And if we do see Lewis have to sit out because of injury sustained from porpoising, that should be alarm bells for the FIA. That should be alarm bells. These regs are dangerous. And, I mean, we'll get to a point now where in other sports such as rugby and in America, the NFL, are having more and more conversations about concussions because we don't really know the research into them, or brain damage generally, because we're starting to recognise more and more professionals are retiring and suffering from things like memory loss. F1, sure, they might have shorter careers, but those careers shouldn't then be shortened and then other kind of racing careers affected by injuries sustained just by driving. These cars should be able to handle the G-forces. And since Mercedes were the masters of the old so-called low rate concept, it shouldn't be happening to Merc. But then those are my thoughts. I might do another video about that kind of thing in the future, because I had somebody talk to me earlier and just say, that would be brilliant for a video for this channel, talking about porpoising itself and the effects of the Lewis. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to talk about at the front of the championship or at the front of the race. Most of the things that are interesting to talk about are in other places. Gasly 5th, Vettel 6th, good drives from the pair of them. Ricciardo held off Lando, behind Fernando, of course. Lando complaining about not being allowed to pass Ricciardo because he thought he'd be backed up into Ocon. The only thing I need to say about that is when Ricciardo asked to pass Norris earlier because he was worried about being backed up into Gasly. Gasly did overtake Ricciardo. At the end of the race, Ocon was 16 seconds behind Lando. But, yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.